Hi friends, Tiffany here. Welcome to my quilting life. In today's video, I'm going to show you out there how to make a quilt that I named Intertwined. And you're going to see why in just a few minutes when I get to that part and show you how to make it. So I went ahead and designed 3 sizes for you to make: a twin size, or a full queen, which on a full it would hang over just a little bit more, but I mean, who doesn't want hangover on their quilts? And then a king size. So I went ahead and did the math for all of those, which I will put on the screen momentarily. I will put the twin size, all the stuff you need, and then I'll put the full queen size, all the stuff you need, and then I'll put the king size with all the stuff you need for today's pattern. Now I have gone ahead and I am making the twin size. So for my twin size quilt, it's going to be 76 by 94. Now that's perfect twin size, right? Yes, it is. So that's going to be made with 20 blocks, and that's got borders included. And I am going to be making that size for you in today's video. So let me give you what you need to make the twin, the full queen, or the king. And if you want smaller, just make less blocks and use less fabric. Here we go. Like I said, in today's video, I am going to be making the twin size version. So I'm going to grab my 3.5 yards of a background fabric. I'm just using a cream colored for this one. And then I am going to grab 1 jelly roll. Now, 1 jelly roll will make this project, but I am only going to use 20 pieces of the jelly roll, and I am adding an accent of 20 pieces. But I'm also using my accent color. I have 2.5 yards here. My accent color will also be my first or my second border. So you can make it with and just mix and match Scrappy with just 1 jelly roll, or you can use a half a jelly roll and your accent color, and you can create 2 different color look, and then your background, of course. So here is the block that we are going to make. This is a very easy block to make. Very easy. Anyways, what you need is you can use 2 colors to make this block. So if you want to just say black and red, or black and green, or green and yellow, or purple and magenta, I have no idea. You could have whatever 2 colors you want and make it a 2-color quilt. With the jelly roll, you can mix and match everything, but you have to match your previous color with your next color. If that makes any sense, you'll see, because that's what I am doing. So my previous one is the next sides. Now, this is comprised of just a couple units. It's 4 units, and then the 2 top and bottom sashing and the 2 side sashing, and then a center square, and that's it. So let's get to showing you what to cut to make this block. All right, what we're going to need for each block is 5 4.5 by 4.5 inch squares. That's 5 4.5 inch squares for my letter C. C is background. For letter C, we also need 8 2.5 by 4.5 inch rectangles. So that's 8 2.5 by 4.5 inch rectangles. This is also letter C. From my letter C, I also need 4 2.5 by 2.5 inch squares. Wow, I couldn't talk for a second. So from your letter C, which is your background fabric, 5 4.5 by 4.5 inch squares, 8 2.5 by 4.5 inch squares, and 4 2.5 inch squares. All right, set those aside. So I lettered them A for my accent color and B for my jelly roll color. So from my accent color, I need 6 2.5 by 4.5 inch rectangles, 6 2.5 by 4.5 inch rectangles, and then 4 2.5 by 2.5 inch squares. So these are my letter A. From my jelly roll, which I lettered B, even though I'm using 2 different colors, don't freak out. We need 6 2.5 by 4.5 inch rectangles. That's 6 2.5 by 4.5. I'm using 2 different colors, and you'll see why. 3 of my colors right here, and I don't want to confuse you, but I'm just letting you know. 3 are one print, and 3 are of another print. Okay? So, but you need 6 if you're just doing the jelly roll itself. And I would say use all the same color, but you can mix it around and make it be scrappy if you want, because it would still look just fine. So 6 B pieces that are 2.5 by 4.5. Then you need 4 pieces that are 2.5 by 2.5 inch squares for your letter B. Now again, I am using 2 different colors, so I have 2 that are one color and 2 that are the other. Either way, it equals 4 pieces. So from letter A, 6 2.5 by 4.5 inch rectangles, 4 2.5 by 2.5 inch squares. From my letter B, 6 2.5 by 4.5 inch rectangles. From my letter B, 4 2.5 by 2.5 inch squares. Again, you can split the amount of color and you'll see why shortly. And from letter C, which is our background, 5 4.5 by 4.5 inch squares, 8 2.5 by 4.5 inch rectangles, and 4 2.5 by 2.5 inch squares. All right, let's set these aside and get started. The first thing we are going to do is we are going to take a C unit right here, which is a 2.5 by 4.5 inch rectangle, and we are going to take a B unit or an A unit, because it's going to work the same. A unit and B unit. This step, all of these are going to be exactly the same. So I'm just going to grab so that you can see that I have an A and a B. So I'm going to take my C piece and I'm always going to lay it down. And I have this facing you, so I'm doing this upside down. So if it was facing me, it would be this direction right here. What we're going to do is we're going to take this 2.5 by 4.5 inch rectangle and we are going to place it on the corner of the 2.5 by 4.5 inch C. I always lay color C down first because it makes it so much easier to do this. Okay, so for me it would look like this. For you, they look like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to sew a line. You can draw a line if you need to. So I'm just going to use a pencil for this one. I'm going to find that corner, which is right there, and this corner up here. I'm going to draw a line from this right here to this right here, and you're going to be sewing on that line. So it's always going to be from the top middle, because for you right now, this is the top. From the top middle down to the bottom right. top middle down to the bottom right. I am not marking anything, I'm just showing you this, but you can see underneath here, if you're using seam tape, or if you just want to eyeball the corner to corner, you can just, while you're at the machine, lift up the corner, and I'll show you what I mean, so that you can see this on your way to it, and make it a lot easier. So it's always going to go from the top middle of your A and your B pieces, down to that bottom corner, the right, which would be the middle of those pieces, down to that bottom corner. So this is how all of your C, A, and B pieces are going to be placed together. So I'm going to go ahead and stack mine right here. And I need one of those. I need one of these combinations. Oops, I almost put it on the wrong side because I'm facing me. And then I need a second one of my accent ones. So for this, I need 2 of my accent colors and 1 of each of my colors that I'm using from my jelly roll. So I need 2 A pieces and 2 B pieces of my rectangles, and then 4 C pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and set these over here because we're going to sew them. The second unit we are going to make is we are going to take 4 of these, the last 4 of the 2.5 by 4.5 inch C piece rectangles. And I'm going to try to do this facing you. I'm going to grab 1 of my B pieces of one color, 1 of my B pieces of the other color, and then I'm going to grab 2 of my A or accent 2.5 inch squares. And what we're going to do, for me, it would be this corner right here. I'm going to always have my C piece on the bottom, and I am always putting this on the left side. So if I was to turn it around for you, it would look like this. So it's always going to go on the left side. So for me, it's right here on my left. And what we're going to do is we are going to, again, you can draw the line here from corner right here to corner right there, okay? And you're always going to draw all of these that same direction. So from the middle of the block at the point of your A and B pieces, where it meets in the middle, down to the bottom left corner. So you're always going to have that sewing line from here to there, or right here to down there. Okay, so it's going to be the opposite direction of what the other one was sewed. So I'm going to take all of these pieces and I'm going to stack them over here for me to sew. The next unit we're going to make is we're going to take all of our 2.5 inch squares that are our C pieces, and we are going to pair them with our A and B pieces. It doesn't matter what side you put these on right now. It only matters once we sew them together. So just go ahead and sew the A and B colors units with your C. So A and B squares with your C. So you should have no little squares left after you sew all of these together. So I'm just going to go ahead and stack mine over here to be sewn. Just like this. And I'm always going to sew with a 1/4 inch seam. The next units we're going to make, and these are going to be the last ones until we start building the blocks. We're going to take 4, we have 5 of our C units that are 4.5 by 4.5 inches. We're going to take 4 of them, just like this. Take 4 of them, and then we're going to take 1 of the B units and 1 of the B units, so 2 B units or AB units, and we're going to place them on one side. So for you, it's whatever side you want it to be on at the moment, because the layout is what matters. When we sew it, they're all going to be the same. And we're going to take 2 of my B units and 2 of my A units, or AB, like I said, because A and B can be the same for you. And then we're going to lay them on here, and we're going to sew on one side. So I'm going to go ahead and just stack these out of the way. And we are going to go over to the sewing machine to sew these. Just so that you have a chart, this is how they are put together. All right, just for reference, the unit we're putting together is a C plus A and B. Lay it on that right side facing down, C plus A and B. You're going to sew from that middle down to the corner. And when you open it, it should look like this. Let me show you. So again, you can draw your line or you can just eyeball it. I'm going to use my seam tape. And what we do is we're going to sew on that line, and I peek under to see where the corner is right here. And then I just hold it all the way across. I'm going to go ahead and chain piece, add my next one. I'm going to start it, look underneath. I'm going to see where that point is landing. Then I'm going to hold it nice and straight. Next piece, start it, see where it's landing. You can even hold it up if you need to make sure that you're landing there, or you could have just drawn your line on all of them. Next piece, peek under. All right, so there we have that unit. The next unit is this section right here where my finger is now pointing. We're going to do a C plus an A and B. You're going to lay it on the corner right here, and you're going to sew your line from the middle down to the left. So let's do that unit real quick. So here we are with our A, B, and C unit. I'm going to lay that 2.5 inch square here. I'm going to sew right here. There's no checking on this one. You just line that corner up and sew it. So I'm going to go ahead, straighten my next piece on here. I'm always sewing these all the same direction each time. So all the units for the one get sewn the same way, and all this unit gets sewn the same way. And one more. Oh goodness, come on. There we go. Doesn't slide very easily. All right, and since I don't sew straight, I'm going to go ahead and put my seam guide where I need it to be, right there. And I'm going to go ahead and sew this unit now. My C plus A and B, right here, equals that rectangle. So I'm just going to line it up on one side, sew it through. I know we have another one that was in between these two. Let me just get to those. Those don't have a chart. All right, so this next one through. And this last one. Now, if you're always sewing with a 1/4 inch seam, everything should always line up perfectly. All right, now I'm going to sew my A and C little 2.5 inch square units. This is just saving some time, by the way. This wasn't on my chart. I'm just piecing them like this because I found it easier when piecing this project to piece these first, then put things together. All right, last one to sew through. Now we're going to go ahead and just snip everything apart. I'm going to go ahead and press this one, this little unit right here. I'm going to press this towards the dark. So all of these units are going to go towards the dark. Then these next 4 units, I know because I'm using a light fabric that I shouldn't, but I'm actually going to press these up right here towards my background. So I'm pressing them towards the background piece. Okay, so I have 4 of those that'll get pressed towards the background piece. These guys, we're going to be snipping this excess off right here. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and press these towards the dark and then remove my excess, a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So these are all going to go towards the dark, and that is that unit. So I'm going to go ahead, put these over there. This unit right here, we are also going to press towards the dark. So you'll know that you have it nicely sewn. If it's nice and straight, mine's a little off, so I'm going to have to re-sew that real quick. But you'll have it nice and lined up. Let me see if this one lined up. I'm going to re-sew that one because sometimes I sew a little sloppy. So if you fold this back and press it, then that edge right here should line up and this edge should line up, and you should have one nice unit, and then you would fold it back and cut away your excess. I can't believe I sewed that other one crooked though. Anyways, so I'm going to go ahead and fold all these back like this and press them towards the dark. I'm going to fold it back this way and chop away my excess 1/4 inch seam. Give me 2 seconds because I really need to fix this piece. All right, so this is what the units look like when they're sewn. So you have this one, which is not on the chart, but we're going to be sewing them together anyway, so I figured we might as well get them done. Then we have this unit. Again, this unit is the one we sewed first, which is the one that hangs over on the side, and this is what it creates. So C, A, B. So I put them obviously, that way for you to see. So this is your one unit. Then we did this unit, these little guys right here. Okay, so that was your C, A, and B 2.5 inch square, and that's what it creates, is this right here. So you have 4 of those. I have 2 of my A's and 2 of my B's, and my B's are 2 different colors, and I'll show you why shortly. But again, you can use all one jelly roll for this. No big deal. You don't have to do accent like me. And then our last unit we sewed was our C plus the A and B on the bottom, like this. So A and B is either on the bottom, like that. It doesn't really matter because it's not going to face that way when we lay it out. So that's what we got, that combo right there. All right. And every single block. So I'm making 20 blocks. All 20 blocks are exactly the same. The only thing that's different for me is my color order, because I am making mine a color order. So let's get to doing unit 1 and unit 2. Here's our little chart for unit 1 and unit 2. I'm going to go ahead right now and I'm going to take a picture and place it on the screen for you. For the moment, we're just going to set these aside, and all those pieces that we didn't sew anything to, we're going to set aside all of this. We're going to start with unit 1. So unit 1 is my accents, and unit 2 is going to be my jelly roll prints. So if you were just saying doing a red and a black, unit 1 would be your reds and unit 2 would be your blacks, if that makes any sense right now. That would be your 2 colors. So here's my unit. I'm going to face it towards you. So we have C here and A here. So that would be my unit 2. Let's switch them around. How about that? Unit 2 down here, unit 1 right here. So my C and my B and my C and my A. So unit 1, unit 2. Now we are going to take those extra pieces we had left, and we are going to place a piece right underneath like this, because I'm facing them towards you. Right here, I have my C, B, and now an A rectangle right here, the 2.5 by 4.5. And then for this one right here for my unit 2, we're going to go ahead and take my pieces and lay them right there. So my 2.5 by 4.5 is right there. Again, going towards my chart. So unit 1, unit 2. Now for unit 1, we are going to take our C and A rectangles that we put the little thing right here, and we're going to place those right there, just like this. And then let me put I'm putting them in color order. My unit 2 is going to go like that. So my C with A and B pieces are always facing the same direction. Okay, once those are together, then we're going to take our unit C. Hold on, I got to separate these with our A or B. So unit 1 is going to have my B pieces. It's going to go right here. So C always faces outward like this. So you can see it's on the outside and this is on the outside. So you don't have it like this. It doesn't go like that. It's always facing the outer sides as my background, which is my C units. So then I have my C with B unit here and my C with A unit is going to go here, just like that. So we're going to make these 2 units right here. I know mine are 2 different colors, but again, you're going to see very shortly why. So here we go. We're going to sew this unit to this unit. So it's 2.5 by 4.5 now. This is 2.5 by 4.5. They should be 100% equal. When you put these together and you take away your seam, then it's going to be exactly this size. Then when you put them together, it's going to be 2.5 by 6.5, which is this. So let's put this together, then we'll add that, and then we'll add this for unit 1 and 2. It's going to be exactly the same. So I'm going to go ahead and just piece these, and I'll meet you right back here. Before I go any further, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to press these facing the one that I just added on. Every time we press this now, we're going to press it towards what we just added. So I'm going to go ahead now and press these, and I'll meet you right back here. All right, here we are. So these ones will go back right here. Again, I pressed towards the piece I just added, and then these ones will go right here. Now I'm going to add the side, and you can see they're exactly 2.5 by 4.5 now. So I'm going to put this right sides together, and I'm going to sew right here on this side. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that with all of my pieces. Again, these are going to get pressed out. To know if you got this right, because we just added a triangle to this piece right here, is when I press this, if this was sewn with a true 1/4 inch seam on all of these, your point is going to come in. Just going to bring this up to the camera, and you're going to see that point is going to touch. So if you have a good perfectionist 1/4 inch seam, every single time your point will always land right there. So I'm going to press these all towards the thing, and like I said, your points should always come out. Now this one is not even an 1/8. This one's like a thread over. I'm not going to worry about that one, but I'm just saying that this point should match this. So if you had that 1/4 inch seam right here, then you wouldn't have to worry about it. So we're always going to have that line right up. And you'll see once you start sewing it, it lands every single time. So I'm going to press these, and I'll meet you right back. These 2 go to this pile, and these 2 go to this pile. So now if your 1/4 inch seam was true, now we're going to add this here. And it should be exactly the same size. You can see right here, I literally cannot see any color on the side. The only thing I can see right here is the pinking sticking out. That you have to, just work to get it right, because unfortunately the pinked edges are bigger, as you can see, than my piece. They stick out further. But I'm working with the pinking at the same time. As long as my sides line up, that's all I'm worried about. So I'm making sure that my colors match. This one needs to be that color. So if you're doing the coloring thing like I am, You need to make sure that these colors match up and these colors match up. And then obviously your A pieces. All right, so I'm going to go ahead now and sew on all of these. All right, once your unit 1 and unit 2, this is unit 2, and this is unit 1. Once these are sewn, I'm going to press again away from the block. So I'm always pressing each individual part I do out. Here's my unit 1s and unit 2s. Oops, let's put that on top of there, just like this. All right, so again, those are our units. Now I'm going to set this aside, and we're going to grab our layout, okay? So I'm just going to move these over right here, out of my way. I'm going to give you guys a picture of the layout. All right, so this is generally how I do this. So I'm going to take my 4.5-inch square units that have my A on them. I'm going to put one at the top and one at the bottom, just like this. Then I'm going to look at my previous block, because for me, again, I'm doing the 2 different color thing, and you're going to see why. I'm going to look over at my previous block and see what side my B unit needs to be on. So it needs to be on this side and the next one on this side. Okay? So now I'm going to take my 4.5-inch by 4.5-inch square and place that in the middle. Again, we're following this layout. Okay? So here is our pieces. Now we're going to take our unit B. Yeah, this was unit B. We're going to place this right here. So I'm going to match this color to this color, just like that. Then I'm going to take my other unit 2. Why did I say B? I don't know. We're going to take the unit 2 with our B pieces, and I'm going to put it on this side. Now I'm going to take and match again the color side with my color right here. I'm going to go ahead and place this unit right here and my other unit 1 right there. So technically they're not unit 1 and 2 anymore. Now it's just the matching game on sides. Again, my A units are always on the top and bottom for me. Okay. And then my B units, for me, it would be my left side is always the same as the previous right side. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and sew this block together. As you can see, it's creating an intertwine, except mine is in multiple colors. That's why I said you can have fun with your colors, because if it was a 2-color quilt, or say you wanted red here, yellow here, green here, and blue here, that would look so awesome too. It's all about the planning when you're laying this out. And at the end of this video, I will put a picture. Actually, I'll probably just insert it, somewhere between these blocks. But I will eventually put a picture in here of what the quilt can look like in a multiple range of colors. So we're going to take now, and I'm going to sew my top to bottom. You guys would be doing this one first because this is your top. But I'm going to go from top to bottom. I'm going to put these right sides together right here. And as you can see, the seams are now in opposite directions right here. They are going to nest right up. They are exactly 6.5 inches. Okay. My nested seam, I'm going to hold that and I'm going to sew down that side. I went ahead and left mine on the machine, but you didn't see me sew it. I'm going to take now my centerpiece right here, because I'm chain piecing everything. I'm going to lay it on top right here. I'm going to leave my pinking out just a little bit, because I already know that the inside of my pinking, which is the valley, is actually my 2.5 inch. So I'm going to go ahead now and sew this on and then leave it on the machine. And now I'm on this one, which I don't need to match, but these points will magically come together. So I'm going to go ahead and place this one right sides together like this. And if I have a perfect 1/4 inch seam right here, those points will come together beautifully. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this through. And this is my chain pieced unit right here. So when I open this up, your previous block should tell the way you're going to press. So my previous block is in. So this now goes in towards the center. That means this one's going to go towards the dark one. So I'm paying attention to my previous block for all my pressing. And then this one is going to go out towards the center.
Okay, so you can see I make a straight line here, and then my point touches right here. Now it's a matter of adding this, this, and this, which you're not going to be able to see because once I add this, I'm leaving it on the machine. Every time I press, this seems to always get messed up. I hate when that happens. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead now and sew these on. All right. I had to make that go flat. It annoys me when it doesn't. All right, see you in a second when these are all pieced. All right, so all this is now together. The seam that I had to nest here is right here. So this one went down and this one went up, or that was down and that was up. Either way. Now this makes one continuous line right here. I'm going to go ahead now and press this one in. And then this one is going to go towards the dark, or my B piece. And then this one will go in towards the A and C unit right there. Now it's just a matter of sewing this one onto here and this one onto here. And there's going to be a seam to nest right here. So this seam will be nesting. This seam will be nesting. And this seam will be nesting. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this up, nesting my seams along the way. And if this right here and this right here are sewn just right, this and this should create a nice point too. So I'm going to go ahead. These are exactly the same size and sew these. All right, now that it's sewn and I've nested my seams, everything landed where it's supposed to. My previous unit went under towards the center, so this unit is now going to get pressed away from the center, and this one will get pressed away from the center. And I'm going to press it real quick so that you can see how all these points lined up as long as you have a nice, consistent 1/4 inch seam. All right, so you can see these points touch from making the blocks right here. Now these points touch. These points touch, these points touch. Everything, let's see if I can't hold this up, is matching, making one continuous line right here, one continuous line right here, and one continuous line right there. Plus the points come at the tip. The points come at the tip all the way around. Now here's why I'm doing the 2 color thing with my previous block. Let me show you. So here's this block. Here is my previous block. When I put them together, my matching color is right here. My A units are always on top and bottom because they're my accent. But if you made this block another jelly roll piece and the one below it to match the other previous jelly roll piece, then you can match all of your colors up. So this is how my blocks are. And then my seams will nest in all these sections. Unfortunately, this section will not, so I'll have to flip seams. And I didn't know, I tried to think about different ways to press these, but no matter what I did, they always had to be pressed the same way because then I was confusing myself with my unit 1 and my unit 2. So I'm just going to make sure that all the whites nest up, but anywhere that I have my color, I'll just flip my seams. It's no big deal to me because you can snip them and make them do whatever. So this is what I'm creating here. I think now would be the good time to insert a picture of what the whole quilt's going to look like. And then I'm going to go ahead and make my last and final block. I'm just going to take you to the sewing machine so that you can watch me sew it together piece by piece. So I hope you enjoyed making this quilt top with me. Of course, I'll quilt it, but not right now because I'm kind of busy. And I would hang it on the design wall to show you, but unfortunately I have something else hanging up there as well, which you probably saw in the previous part of this video. So, don't you like my lovely cape at the moment? It's so beauticious. So we're going to go hang this up in the living room so that you can see what it looks like in full with the finished quilt top. And someday in the future, maybe I'll show what the finished quilt looks like. But for now, I kind of have to skip that step of quilting it and hang it with the rest of everything in the closet that needs to be quilted. I know I'm just piling things up in there, right? Just like you are, because you're making this right now, aren't you? Anyways, let's go hang this up and see what it looks like in full. So here it is. This is what it looks like unquilted. And no, I didn't snip all the strings off of it to show you or anything. I kind of just left them all there because when I get to the long arm, eventually I'll snip them all while I'm working. So this quilt has turned out 76 by 94. That's with borders. If you don't put a border, that's okay. It'll be 64 by 80 inches, so it'll stop right here at the end of all of these. So if you need it to be a little bit smaller. Now, like I said, if you wanted to make this quilt smaller, you would just make less blocks. So right here is one block. Right here is another block. So if you took 4 blocks and put them together because they're 16.5-inch blocks, you can have a small quilt for a baby. Now, if you did 3 blocks by 3 blocks, then you'd have a smaller quilt as well. Like I said, this would look amazing in a 2-color quilt, so 2 main colors, and then choose like, a matchy-matchy color for your background. You could even actually put a print-on-print or a tone-on-tone background and then have 2 colors to work with. It's up to you. It's your quilt. I did mine where my previous is the next block. My previous is the next block. My previous is the next block. And it took me a second to think about it, but as soon as I had this first block laid out, I was able to grab the pieces for this one. And since I knew that this color was in the next one, I was able to choose the color for the next one with my previous pieces. So it's really, really easy to make. So that's about it. This is mine with borders. This is what it's going to look like. And when it's quilted, it'll probably look a lot better and less boring in the background. I don't know. I thought a solid would work great, and I think it does. It looks intertwined.